in technical education. So both the words are very important, huge words, and they have these two words are encompassing the deep thoughts and deep knowledge also. So you will excuse me for asking for these two innovations only. It is the initiative of the Government of India through All India Council for Technical Education that they are organizing various faculty development programs through Atal FDP in various engineering colleges across the country, from north to south and east to west, of course, including the central part of our country. So Mahila Engineering College has always been the pioneer in organizing such FDPs in the past also, and I am confident that these activities are sustainable in the institution like yours. So I'll be talking about effective. What does it mean by effective first? Then we will come to leadership, and then I will switch over to excellence in technical education. So this will require a ample amount of patience and good skill to listen to someone. So thank you very much for being there in this session, and I am seeing so many faculty members are there. My qualification is not rather compatible or incompatible to the audience like you, but I will strive hard to make you know little about what effective leadership is and how we can be helpful in achieving the excellence or approaching the excellence in technical education itself, because we are the part of this technical education. So I think English will be the requirement of this faculty development program, because there are so many faculty members who may not be, I am using the word may not be well versed with the Hindi. So let us have the meanings of these words, and we should proceed. This session will not only cover some aspects, but it will also cover some beautiful examples from across the country, and this will definitely add to our knowledge from both sides, from my sides and from your side also. So I start asking 3 questions, and let us make it interactive. So I will request Meeta ma'am to allow all of them to on their mic, keep their mic in on mode so that they can also speak. So my first question to this learned audience is that, do you know a name of the person who is having the highest post but not like behaving properly? Have you come across such personality who is at highest post or the important post, but not his behavior or her behavior is not proper? Could you name, please? I think the silence is there. It means there is no answer to this question. The person who is having the post but behavior is not good. Second thing I ask you, I will answer these questions in the time to come. Are you getting me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The second question is a very beautiful world. Miss World is there, and her behavior is not proper. Will you respect her?
No.
If you come across meeting a
No, sir.
Miss India or Miss World or Miss Universe, and her behavior is not proper, then we will start not respecting that fellow. Okay. So the third one is, if a billionaire come to you and you come across the billionaire and his behavior is not proper, then are we able to respect? The answer is again no. But my first question was, if a person is on highest post or the important post or a commendable post and his behavior is not proper, but still we have to respect. That means sometimes we come across a personality whom we respect the most, but his behavior or her behavior is not proper. Those who are associated with some Indian administrative services officers will forgive me. An IAS officer is a respectable personality, but his behavior may or may not be very good. But we have to respect, because at least he is an IAS officer. So these are the things which I wanted to share, because why? Number one, position. Number two, beauty. And beauty or appearance, we can say, not beauty, appearance. A very good man may also be there. A beautiful man may also be there. And third one is the money. So these three things are not important for being a good person. What is the requirement? It is the behavior that we should have in our day-to-day life. So behavior is the most important part. So if I speak something over here, or I articulate something over here, then if you consider it as an information, then it's okay. But if you consider it as a knowledge, then it is going to add something to your personality also. So let us start formally. What's a leader? Number one, a person who lead without any fear is called leader. If I speak in Hindi, बिना डर के जो नेतृत्व करे वो नेता है, leader. And what is leadership? It is the adjective. So a leadership is very important for any organization or a particular group also.
Excuse me, sir. So sorry, sir. I'm interrupting you, sir. Slides are not changing.
I am not changing at all. Now I am changing, actually.
Okay, sir. Okay, sorry, sir. Sorry. Yes, sir.
Thank you. So is it visible now? Next slide.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So a leader, when removes the
Yes, sir,
hurdles
it is
coming in, a leader when removes the hurdles coming in between the way to his team's task, becomes effective leader and does wonders. This is the punchline for effective leadership. And actually, what does it mean by a leader? Means a leader is a person who not only works, but he get the works done with the proper mechanism. So sometime in Japan, CEO of a particular company was asked by a person that, what is your role in your company? Then he said, I am CEO of this company. I look after this section of the company, technical part. I look this and that and blah, blah, blah. He spoke like that. Then the person who questioned him asked, what exactly your role is? What you are doing is not my question. My question is, what is your role? Then he was answerless. Then the person who asked the question replied that a leader or the CEO of the company is a person who always try to remove the problems or give the solutions to the problems. Then only he is a leader, or he is worth becoming CEO of a company. So this is the most important definition of a leader. And a leader lives the life with strong values and guide their decisions and behavior. It is definitely, if someone is not respecting the values, he is or she is not able to lead the group in totality or effectively or truly. So the best definition of leadership is the act of motivating other people towards a common goal, because every organization has a goal in the form of its vision and through its mission. During last 2 to 3 years, we had also been in the process of getting the accreditation of our undergraduate courses in the colleges, and we were all trying to put in our best possible efforts. For what? For a common goal, that is accreditation. Accreditation was a goal, and we all were working hard towards it, but ultimately it didn't help. What was the problem? Problem was with the leadership or some other aspects also. So this is what we can understand. The gist of these three lines is, we have to be the part of solution, not to be part of problem. So this is called a leader and its leadership. So what kind of parameters, or what are those parameters which a leader is having associated with him or her? So these are the 11 parameters which we must focus on: communication, integrity, accountability, empathy, humility, resilience, vision, influence, positivity, delegation, and confidence. So these are the 11 parameters we must look upon, and we must self-explore on this part also, because I am also the member of the UHV, Universal Human Values, at my college, and I have also attended the courses organized by AICT in the past. So these are the 11 parameters which we must focus on, and we must explore, and we must ask the questions to ourselves, that what these traits are there in our personality also. So I will discuss one by one, maybe through some examples and maybe through some quotes also. So let us first take the communication. What does it mean by communication? Communication needs medium. Either it is oral communication, or it is written communication, or it is communication without these two. So my aim to discuss this communication is to let us know how can we communicate, or what exactly we are communicating. A communication needs only two things. Number one is our language, and number two is our emotions. If any one of them is absent, we are not having true communication. Communication will be there, but it will not be a true communication, because whatever we do, whatever we speak, whatever we write, it is always communication, and people observe us. And we must not forget that we are being observed every time by the people who are outside myself. Everyone is watching us, and every time we are becoming an example. So human beings are the best creatures on this earth who can live the life with emotions, with communications. Even the animal sector, they are also having some emotions, but they are not able to communicate properly, or we are not able to know what they are communicating. Sometimes there are some experts who can understand the language of these animals and birds, but not all. So communication has two parts. One is called conversation, another part is known as it is not communication, actually it is articulation. Conversation needs only language, but articulation needs language as well as emotions also. A language without emotions is useless. If someone interviews and asks the question, and the person who is not having any kind of emotions and tries to speak fluently, and at the end he says thank you, then it is not going to help communicating things from one side to the another side. So point to point communication is important, because we have to incorporate the language as well as the emotions itself. So speaking and articulation, these are two things which we know very well, that what is speaking and what is articulation. I have already said what is articulation means: the choosing the words. Say for example, some student comes and say, may I come in? Okay, he has communicated what he or she wants. But if he or she speaks like, may I step in, or may I hop in, then some emotions are attached to it. That is why I am saying speaking and articulation are two different things. So articulation also shows the emotions, but speaking may not show the emotions also. The third part is hearing and listening. Hearing means You just get in the words or may not get in the words, but listening means you are getting in the words and you are allowing them to change yourself according to the situation what we are having. So this is what we actually need to communicate. Sometimes when we say that anger doesn't come to me, this is the language. But if I live it, if I live, not leave, live, Live, if I live it properly, then people will understand that yes, anger doesn't come to him. That means information can be lived up. If a person lives up the information, it comes to knowledge, because so many people will come to know that yes, this is the fellow to whom the anger doesn't come. Say for example, I say to my student, I do not go for lunch in the lunchtime during college hours. But the day I am found eating something in between that lunchtime, I am lost. People will say that he is not sticking to his word, or he is not living up his life, what he is saying. The saying means the words or the language. But if I continue to do this, and if I make people understand, make people convinced that yes, I do not go for a lunch during this lunchtime in our college hours or even thereafter. If on a fine holiday I am going to somewhere with the students, and during the lunchtime students are taking their lunch and I am not taking, then only I can prove that yes, I don't take lunch. So it is up to us what kind of example we are setting up. Sometimes we may hear that, see, the son of Dr. Verma is regular, he is getting 98% above marks, and what you people are doing it at this home. So that the son of Dr. Verma is becoming the example. So every time we are becoming the example for others. So communication, it is not necessary that language is there, but emotions are there. Then the example we are going to set up before the person is without any medium. So we are just communicating things. So communication is must. What kind of act we are going to do is always observed. So communication is the most important part, and we must stick on it, that how do we communicate so that we can become the good example rather to be the bad example. Next is the integrity. When we do something with the help of our personality, we do in under two aspects. Number one is practical aspect, and number two is passionate aspect. Whatever we do, practical aspects is the skill part. Whatever skills we are being offered in our studies, whatever skills we are offered during some training, we can do some things with the help of practical aspects. But if we keep on doing this with our passion, then only we can say that yes, we are doing something and we are setting the best example. So examples and reference. Example may be for some time, but references are always there. So what you want to be, either an example or a reference. So these 4 points which I have noted here: passionate aspect, practical aspect, example, reference. Then these 4 things, that is the 2 aspects and example and reference. The example and reference are the outputs, and passionate aspect and practical aspects are input. So if there is a balance between input and output, and it is sustained, that is, the integrity is doing right thing even when no one is watching. So, say for example, someone is not watching and you are stealing something from a shop. It means what? You are not doing right thing. Your integrity is at doubt. So integrity is doing right thing, not the wrong thing. Doing the best possible way, not the shortcuts. So integrity is doing right thing even when no one is watching. Say for example, right now I am speaking before the audience, and if nobody is listening to me, keeping the mobile phones in the pocket and roaming around the college, and some people are busy with their personal work, even then I have to speak. That is called my integrity. So leaders succeed when they stick to their word, live by their core values, and lead by example and follow through. So integrity and becoming an example, these two things go hand in hand. In integrity cannot be considered separate from any being an example of a good leader. So whenever we are talking about the effective leadership, effective leaders are those who are doing the things with passion and those who are becoming the references, not only the examples. So this is what I wanted to tell about the integrity. So there are many things to look for in people with integrity. It includes apologize for mistakes. If I commit a mistake, I must apologize, verbally or in written. Sometimes what happens exactly, as we have already worked for TechCube 2 and TechCube 3, and we have come across so many files in our department or in the college, and sometimes we commit the mistake in writing the figure or in writing the specifications of a machine, and machine comes with those wrong specifications. Then instead of passing on the responsibility on others, it is the responsibility of the leader or head of the department or the principal, yes, we have committed a mistake. So if a person apologizes for the mistakes he or she has committed or his teammates have committed, then only he is a good leader or an effective leader. The second thing is highlight the work of their employees and downplay their own contributions. If I am not able to highlight the work or the contribution of the employees or the team members, and I am not able to downplay their roles to the others, then I can't be a good leader. Every time self-praising is not the sign of a good leader. It is not the sign of an effective leader. Maybe a good leader, but it is not an effective leader. He may be the productive leader. He may not be the effective leader. So for effectiveness of any leader, the leader must highlight the work done by or the contribution of employees or the teamwork and must downplay there itself. The third thing is give the benefit of doubt when circumstances are unclear. If some conflict is there and you are not able to decide who is the defaulter, who is the culprit and who is the victim, then give the benefit of the doubt by giving thought to both the sides. So giving punishment to one without going into the deep aspects of the conflict, it is not going to be the good leadership. So a good leader is one who gives the benefit of doubt in a team and be appreciative of people's time, must appreciate the people, must appreciate their time they have given for the development of the organization. So these are the things which we have to look for in the people having the integrity. If you don't apologize for the mistake, you are not having the integrity itself. You are just passing on the responsibility on the others. So this is the important aspect of the integrity also. Next is the accountability. In nutshell, accountability may be in the two portions. One is the accountable to the superiors and another is the accountability to the users. You are the in-between part. So a leader when takes little more than his share of the blame and little less than his share of the credit, he turns to be effective. What does it mean exactly? You people are organizing this FDP program, and there might have been some good points and there might have been some bad points also. And at the end of the day, there will be some evaluations of this FDP also. So if a person who is organizing this FDP and taking the entire credit to him or herself, then he or she is not going to be the effective leader, because next time people will not help you. So if you are owning the blame, that yes, whatever mistakes or whatever shortcomings were there in the organization of this FDP, I am responsible for those. And whatever good things happened during the FDP, the credit goes to my team. This is called the effectiveness of the uh, leader. And this is called the accountability also. You are taking the account of blame on your side, and you are giving the credit to your team members. So this is called accountability exactly. So leaders are accountable for the team's result, good or bad. They hold themselves and their employees accountable for their actions, which creates a sense of responsibility among them, among the team members also. So team members should always feel motivated by the actions you are taking during any program you organize, or any act you are doing in your department, or any activity you are the part of in your institution level. So the main thing is that the blame, whatever you have, you should own more than what your share is, and give credit to people to the extent they deserve, and sometimes more than that. So this is called the accountability part of our uh, leadership trait. So being responsible for the actions and behaviors of those around you is essential to developing leadership qualities like accountability. This will definitely lead to effectiveness of your leadership. So accountability part is also important, and it is the most important dimension of the organization where we can uh, showcase our effectiveness also. Empathy. Empathy, what is called empathy? It is not like sympathy, it is the empathy. Empathy is understanding or invisible connect. So if you are working in a team, say for example, this FTP is concerned, there might be one patron, there might be one organizer, there might be one coordinator or two coordinators, there might be co-coordinators, there might be some organizing committee, and so on. So if you have some invisible connect, what does it mean by connect? If you are able to understand the other one, then you are able to have the empathy. If you don't have understanding with your team members, you will not be able to get the desired level of success of such kind of programs you are organizing. So the effective leaders have enough open-mindedness to understand their followers' motivation. The word it used is followers. In our case, it is not the followers, it is the team members' motivation, hopes, dreams, and problems, so that they can forge a deep personal connection with them. So whenever you plan, whenever you execute, whenever you implement any program in your college, in your institution, or at any other institutions, we have to understand the level of motivation they require, what are their hopes, what are their dreams. Everyone's dream will be to get the success in this FDP at the end of the day. And there may be some problems also. And if you are able to solve those problems, then only you can force the personal connect with them. I give you the example of one such incidence. One day, Dr. APJ Kalam was there in his laboratory, and some team members were working over there, and there was a time-bound task, that this kind of, because who was the APJ Abdul Kalam? He was the scientist creating the satellite launch vehicles, and he was about to launch a satellite with the help of launch vehicle. And one of the fellows asked APJ Kalam that, sir, I want one day casual leave because my wife is expecting a child and she is at her full time. Then Kalam said, no, I can't sanction you leave. Then he said, sir, it is the matter of my wife's life, and it is the matter of one new birth is also there. So he said, no, 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 I can't sanction. Then he said, sir, you please sanction 1 week leave. And he said, not possible, not at all, because on this date we have to launch this new technology vehicle, and it is not possible for me to sanction leave to anyone in the team. Then he joined the team and started working, and his wife was there. In the next morning, when he went to his home, his wife was quite happy, quite healthy with a baby, and he was astonished. How could it happen? Who helped? Then his wife said, a person having long hair came in the car and he took me to the hospital, and he arranged all the money for my expenditure at this hospital, and he stayed for a long time for me in this hospital and helped me a lot, and that is why I am today healthy with a healthy child for us. So that fellow was, long haired fellow was this Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. This is called the empathy. It was the personal connect he showed, that yes, when my team members are working for the satellite launch vehicle, which is the nation's pride, I must help him. How can I help? How should I do? He immediately decided and helped her. So this is what APJ Abdul Kalam was. He was the effective leader, not only the productive leader, he was the effective leader also of his team. So this is the example we can every time think of, and we can quote whenever we meet someone, that what is the meaning of empathy, what is the meaning of this invisible personal connect with the teammates. So this is the empathy which a leader must have with him or her while in the office or while in the home. Humility. Humility comes only when we are allowing it. Otherwise, having always arrogant, humility is far away from this. So leadership styles focus on problem solving and team dynamics much more than self-promotion. Here I would like to give one more example to make you understand what kind of this team dynamics and much more than self-promotion is concerned. You might be aware of the cricket game. There's no matter to say anything. In cricket, we had one captain, Mahendra Dhoni, in the past, and recently we had one captain, Mr. Virat Kohli. Virat Kohli was always engaged in self-promotion, whereas the Dhoni always strived hard for the team dynamics. And he was the successful captain. And right now you might have seen the result of this T20 when he was engaged in self-promotion, and he was quite ambitious after the Bharat Ratna was awarded to Sachin Tendulkar. So self-promotion always lead to arrogance, and team dynamics always lead to humility. So humility is the most important part for an effective leader. A leader solves the problem. Mahendra Singh Dhoni used to solve the problems of the team whenever the team members stuck to some problem. But at the same time, when it came to Virat Kohli, he always used to use abusing words for the opponent team. He used to use some anger for the teammates, and every time you might have observed it also. You people may be the admirers of the Virat Kohli, but I am not the admirer of Virat Kohli. I am admirer of this Mahendra Singh Dhoni. So this is what I wanted to give you the example, that what kind of humility Mahendra Singh Dhoni was having and what self-promotion attitude was there in the Virat Kohli itself. A good leader will never be effective if there are more concerned with themselves than with the well-being of their team. The same meaning is same. So to be a good leader or an effective leader, we have to be more concerned about our team members, not about ourselves. Whatever happens to me, let it. But My team members should not get any problem. I must be the part of their solution. I must give the solution and the instant solution and the effective solution to them. So pride or proud makes us artificial and humility makes us real. This is the Thomas Merton said. So if you want to know another example of humility, Sudha Krishnamurti, you might be aware of, the wife of Narayana Murthy, the founder of Infosys. Sudha Krishnamurti and Narayan Krishnamurti both were the founders of this Infosys company, and the Sudha Krishnamurti one day found selling the vegetable outside their temple in some part of our country, some pocket of the South India. And people who know her was passing by that place and asked Sudha Krishnamurti, you are the personality belonging to such a huge company, a millionaire, billionaire, and you are selling the vegetables outside this temple, sitting on the ground and surrounded by the pockets of these vegetables. Why? What's the reason? Then she said, it gives me the reality. What people are, how many people are in trouble, what troubles people are facing. This is providing me the humility. This is making me having the personality with humility enough. This is not making me proud or pride. It is not making me arrogant. To reduce the arrogance, to reduce the proud, I am selling this so that I can learn so many lessons which I can't understand or can't learn sitting in a room with air condition. So this is what humility of this Sudha Krishnamurti is. So we must have the humility also. The position, beauty, or the money are the different parts. Our humility, our behavior, our emotions are another part. So let us be the part of humility, not to be the part of artificialness or our arrogance. Next comes the resilience. Leaders with positive attitudes lead by example and rally their team no matter the circumstances. Whatever circumstances are there, he or she must rally the team, must have positive attitude. What kind of positive? Instead of saying that this clock is useless now, a useless clock is also showing time, correct time 2 times in a day. And everywhere, every part of our beloved globe. So positive attitude always helps with the help of this resilience. It's the inherent positivity that helps react to situations with a calm, collected manner and focus on solutions rather than on problems. So once again, the resilience is also helping us out to be the part of solutions and not to be the part of problems. So resilience is one of the leadership qualities that is earned from experience. It cannot be borrowed from the market. It cannot be transferred from one person to another person. It is the earning of a person throughout his or her experience across the life. So resilience is also a requirement of an effective leader. Next comes the vision. What exactly vision is? Jonathan Swift says, vision is the art of seeing what is not visible to others. So if an effective person is one who can read the unwritten words, who can listen what is not being spoken, it is the person who can see what is not visible. So invisible, a thing which is invisible to others is called the vision. And if you are having the art of seeing that invisible thing, you are having some vision with you. So every great leader has had to develop the leadership attributes of vision and foresight. Foresightedness is equally important because without the help of it, we cannot succeed or we cannot get the right direction or we cannot be the effective personality. It wasn't gifted to them. It is not gift to them. It is the earned. It is the art they are having. I give you the example, one fashion designer lady who is now the self-created billionaire, second self-created billionaire in the world, Miss Falguni Nair, who is the owner of Nykaa. Earlier, the Nykaa company was engaged with some cosmetics, and now it is engaged in fashion designing also. So she was having some vision. She was having some art of seeing the things which are invisible to others. She was having the attributes, and she was having the foresightedness, and that is why she could do this. Earlier, it was the CMD of Biocon, Kiran Shaw Majumdar. So these are the ladies, because if I don't discuss the achievements of ladies, then the Mahila Engineering College ladies may be dash. I don't want to speak anything about it. Ladies will feel that the people is not giving the examples of male persons only. I am giving the examples of females also. Sudha Krishnamurti, this Falguni also. So this is not the gift, this is the art. So sharing this vision and motivating others to act is a secret trait of successful leaders. So if you have some vision and if you have some mission to achieve that or to fulfill that vision, we will have to motivate others to act according to our vision and in our mission. So that is why you might have heard about the mission and vision of the institute, mission and vision of the department, mission and vision of your laboratory, your own mission and vision of your pupil. So everything is connected with vision and mission. Everyone has mission, everyone has vision. If there is one of them is absent, then we are not complete. So for being a successful or the effective leader, vision and there must be a sharing of vision. We must share the vision with others also. And after sharing the vision, we must ask them this is the mission. And for having the mission, we must motivate others. Only motivating others, not ordering others. Just do this. No, let us do this. If we are having the spirit of being a team, then only we can be achieving the targets. So this is what we mean to have the vision. Influence. Clearly state what they want. This is all about the team members. If you want to have the positive influence on the organization, on the team, on the classroom, everything, then clearly state what they want. Connect with people emotionally. The emotions are important. Not only language, emotions are equally important. You have to connect with people. Make others feel important. You have to act in such a way that people feel that, yes, he knows our importance also. And you have to ask them to feel the importance of their own only. Everyone is important. Who is not important? Even the sand is also important. In Hindu community, the sand is used for getting married also. The mandapa they create is with the help of sand. Sand is also important. Everything is important in our life. So make others feel important, that yes, you are important for this team, your contribution is important for this team, and your act is also important for this team. So you will have to act accordingly. Ask for suggestions and inputs. Every team member should be asked for suggestions. Every team member should be asked for inputs. Do you agree? And if you ask suggestions and input, it will lead to good outputs. So build real and lasting relationship with the teammates, and leadership and influence are not interchangeable, and respect has to be earned, not given. These are the two different parts of the same sentence. Leadership and influence are not interchangeable. You cannot interchange. And respect has to be earned, not given. Respect can't be given. Respect can't be borrowed. It is to be earned from the team members. So this is what we mean by the influence positivity. This is the most important part. Positivity pays, positivity works, positivity leads, and positivity gives the excellent outcomes, and it does wonders. The calmest workplace can get stressful at times. It's more important how leaders react to this stress. Stress is the part and parcel of our life. Stress is always there. There are some people who are having too much of stress. There are people having zero stress. Zero stress people are useless. The people with ample of stress are also useless. Stress is needed, but we have to act accordingly, because stress leads to productivity. If you are stressless, it is not going to produce anything. If you are too much stressed, it is not going to help you out in making something happen. If you have some stress and you know how to act under all the hardships, if you have the art of moving ahead, then only you can uh, give the good outcomes. So positive outlook rather than get flustered and place blame. Just putting on blames on others is not the solution. What is the solution? You just act according to your positive outlook only. So positivity is another important dimension of an effective leader. So being positive during stressful or unfortunate situations is a sign of strength. I am not belonging to any political party, and I also know that you people are also belonging to some of the families where political leaders are also there. There are some bureaucrats are also there, and so many other things are there. But you can see the people use abusing words for Honorable Prime Minister in our country, but he remains cool and calm every time, and he does his work, whatever he wants, with the help of his team. And right now we are having the height of our international relations, and people are getting attracted towards our country and America. Even America has joined International Solar Alliance. It is the positive attitude of our country that yes, we are addressing the issues related to global warming with the help of renewable energy and green energy. So ultimately America came down and joined this International Solar Alliance. So this is the spirit what the positivity plays. It is a sign that even though things are not going as planned, you can still keep your head on straight and lead your people. Sometimes we come to know that this is not going to be as per our plan, but still we have to keep our sight straight and lead our people and make runtime changes, whatever you want to make it productive, make it effective. So runtime changes are always there. Sometimes when we start our journey from, say, for example, your place is Ajmer, and if you want to go to some place in south, say, for example, Bengaluru, then you start planning how to go, when to go, where to go, what to carry, what not to carry, with whom we are going, everything you plan. And at the last moment, you come to learn that the train is 2 hours late. Then you just start changing some plans also. Yes, we will now start our journey from home to railway station at this time only. So sometimes runtime configurations are also reconfigurations are also required. So this is the part of our positivity in our life, and we must keep on adapting the positivity only. So next is the delegation. A difficult transition for many leaders is shifting from doing to leading. A leader who is doing everything at his own may be productive, but he may not be effective. So if he is leading, then leading is only possible with the help of delegation of some work. You have to identify people. You have to identify the task. So the great leader must elevate their team. So team members must be involved in getting the things done. If you are having a committee of 5 members and you are only the person who is doing everything in your committee, and all the committee members are putting their sign at the end, it's not going to be effective, because it is not having the input from other members also. It is just called the dictation. What you have written, everyone has to sign. Sometimes it happens like this. So we must have the delegation techniques, delegation attitude also. So what is the delegation process? How do we delegate? We have to choose appropriate tasks. Say, for example, you are organizing this FDP and you are having a variety of tasks to be taken care of. Every task you cannot take care of. You will have to have the help from the other team members also. You will have to have the help from your patron also. You will have to have the team help from your principal also, your organizers, your organizing committee, your say, for example, some co-coordinators are also there. You will have to do that. So choose appropriate task, choose appropriate person for that also. If you say fish to fly in the sky, and if you say eagle to swim in the river, it's not possible. And it should not be there. You have to identify, because you know very well, if you have a team, then it is the competent enough to take on this task. Then you will have to identify the team members, then choose appropriate person. Set clear objectives and plans. Ask them, this is the objective and this is the plan, and we have to execute this plan. If you have something to tell, if you have something to add, if you have something to include, then you are free. We will have to have the trust upon our team members also. So trust is the also requirement of our delegation of powers, delegation of tasks, delegation of work. So after choosing the appropriate person, you have trust upon him, set the clear objectives, tell them the plan, and ask them if you need some runtime reconfiguration, do it and implement it. What your role is to just monitor it. And if you monitor it, then you will have to evaluate. And if you evaluate, then you will have to review also. If some feedback is there for improvement, you just do that improvement also. So this is the cycle of delegation of tasks to other persons in a team when you are working as a leader. Stakeholders.map.com is the source of this figure. I have not created that figure. That is why I have put this reference over here. Next is the confidence. And this is the last dimension of an effective leader. To be an effective leader, you need to roll up your sleeves and take charge. Just कहते हैं ना, बाहें ऊंची चढ़ा लीजिए और मैदान में कूद जाइए. You just plunge into the world of work. This includes being confident enough to lead, knowing that your plans and vision are not only viable for the team, but the absolute best decision possible. We have to think big. We have to scale up our thinking. We have to scale up our team. We have to widen our vision, and we have to work accordingly. If we think small, we will be very small. If we think big, we will be very big. So being confident in every situation is one of the leadership qualities that you must develop. Truly, great leaders are able to be confident during any situation, even if they feel fear or uncomfortableness. So in nutshell, I must say the true leaders are the ones that don't just talk about problems, but come up with their own solutions fearlessly. Whatever circumstances are there, whatever things are there, just part of solution. So this was all 11 dimensions of an effective leader. Now we are coming to the excellence in technical education. All these 11 traits are required for approaching the excellence. Could you tell me what is the definition of excellence? Any one of you? Very simple definition, if you can say, in very simple words. Excellence. Are you getting me? Are you getting me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I expect the definition from your side. What is the excellence? We are organizing the FDP on this excellence in technical education. What does it mean by excellence? Any faculty member? Any faculty member who can tell this?
Okay.
No one. Okay. So excellence cannot be defined. Excellence is not the destination. It is the journey. Chances of improvement are always there. So the answer to my question is excellence has no definition. It is the mindset. It is the perception. Something, a particular thing is suitable for me, it may not be suitable for others. So that is excellent for me, it may not be excellent for others. Securing 85% marks may be excellent for one fellow, but it may not be good for another fellow. Parents may not be happy with 85% marks. Their excellence level is 90% marks. In some cases, 95% marks level is excellent. But in my opinion, learning is excellence. So excellence has got no benchmark. It is the only journey which we have to go on for a long time. So it was year 1989 when Washington Accord was signed in America for quality education for all. And it was open to all the countries, country members of United Nations organization to join and sign the treaty. For quite a long time, just after 1989 to 2014, it was a long gap. Means it was 24 or 25 years after the Washington Accord was signed. India joined and signed the Washington Accord on 30th June 2014 only. After 25 years, India could understand that yes, quality education or excellence is the requirement of our education system in India. So they signed the Washington Accord, and one important condition included in that Washington Accord was to provide quality education to all in the country, and for that, accreditation of these professional institutions is a must. It is the first and the foremost requirement that all the technical institutions in your country must be accredited. And it was 2003 when the Technical Education Quality Improvement Program was introduced, but it was not sensitized much. It was later sensitized and came to TechUp 2, that is the Technical Education Quality Improvement Program 2. Till then, India was thinking of signing the Washington Accord, but they implemented the quality initiatives in our country. But without leader, the things are not always possible. So after signing the Washington Accord in 2014, we implemented the Technical Education Quality Improvement Program in a good spirit. And right now we have completed the third phase of Technical Education Quality Improvement Program, where quality education was the main motto. What does it mean by quality again? Then quality is not the quality has no definition. When we go for shopping in the market and buying some clothes for our marriage purpose in our family, there is a marriage in the family and we are having the shopping of clothes. The person not belonging to textile sector go to market and they just rub the hand on the fabric and they just say, yes, this is having the luster, this is the color is good, this is only appearance is there, only weight is there, only luster is there, and we decide this fabric is to be purchased for our blazer, this fabric is to be purchased for our this sari is to be purchased because it is having this much of color, that kind of color, and this is the work, and this is all that. This is the color, this is the design, this is the design, this is the color. Everything we go in the market and do. But again, it is a perception, it is the mindset. Say, for example, I decide, yes, this time I am going to buy or purchase pink blazer. Then pink is now my quality. Pink is my perception. Pink is my mindset. Whatever pink I get in the market, I'll purchase. But I forget that what other technical parameters are there, whether this particular fabric is wearable in the summer or in the winter or in the rainy season. Then we require some technical specification, technical knowledge, and all these. So if I don't have this much of knowledge, I am afraid that people will buy wrong things in the market, and that will be a useless investment at that time. So having the full knowledge, I can go to market and decide what quality I want, what mindset my mindset suits me, what mindset is going to help me out, what to purchase and what not to purchase. So quality is again the journey, it is not the destination. You are the leader of your own in your classroom. And a teacher, when enters into the class, students get stand up in the respect of teacher when he enters or she enters. Then we say, yes, sit down. These are the protocols we have to follow in the classrooms. Then we start revising something what we had already taught in the past. And we just say that, yes, from today we are going to discuss this particular topic. And these are the outlines and these are the speaking points I am going to use. And we start teaching in the classroom without knowing what the students require. It is what you are going to speak in the classroom, whatever you have prepared. But if you are not prepared according to your students, they may ask the questions in between. And if you are not able to answer, then you are not effective. You may be productive, but you are not effective. Your effectiveness is only when you are able to understand what they want exactly. So excellence is the result of good dynamics between the teacher and taught. Sometimes we come across the group of students having variety. And variety means there are students from Hindi medium, there are students from English medium, there are students from northeastern states. Say, for example, in my college, we have students from northeastern states, Manipur, Nagaland, Mizoram, Manipur, Tripura, Odisha, Assam, Bengal. People come across the roads to this college. And they are not able to understand what the normally teachers speak in the class in Hindi or in other languages. So this is the problem. In that case, we have to understand their problem also, and we have to give the solution to that. Then only we can think of, or we can ask for excellence only. What happened in TechCube 3, the colleges started procuring machines, softwares, etc., without calculating the requirement or without knowing the requirement, because all the colleges are having faculty members less exposure than what exactly required. If we are buying a particular machine costing 25 lakhs, then is it viable? Will it help us out earn 25 lakhs within 5 years 5 years ahead? Will we be able to get the commercial consultancy out of it? Or will it be able to produce so many projects for the students in that much of time? So without going to do this, how is it possible that the expenditure is going to give you the excellence? Only procuring the machines is not going to help you achieve or approach the excellence. Yes, we are having this much of machines, this software, and the users are not able to use, then it is useless. So excellence requires continuous efforts. Excellence requires these 11 traits, because in our technical education system, we have three types of education imparting technologies. One is theory, one is practical, and another is interpersonal behavior. So if we are able to understand all these things, then only we can approach the excellence. Why IITs do not require accreditation? Because they are having the facilities, they are having the environment, they are having the dynamics to the a minimum level of requirement is already there, and they do R&D. They keep on understanding the students' requirement. I share with you one incident when I visited IIM Indore. Then a professor was having the evening walk, and I was also going down to the main gate of the IIM, because IIM Indore is located on a particular hill. So that professor was saying that we are a student-driven institution. Then I said, how? That one day some students were gossiping, and they were saying that this institution is not having swimming pool, and I am passionate of swimming and this and that. I cannot participate in international activities of swimming and all these. Then next fine morning, they had a proposal in the Board of Governors, and they got it passed, and the Board of Governors said this much amount is sanctioned, and you just Spirit Indian Institute I am having. Of course, they don't have the money problem with them. We have the money problem also, and that is why we are now made the part of universities, Bikaner Technical University or the Rajasthan Technical University. So excellence also comes from the understanding the people we are dealing with. If we are dealing with the students, we must understand the problems of students and give their solutions. If we are dealing with some staff members, technical staff members, we have to understand their technical staff and we have to sort out the problems. If a particular technical assistant in the electronics lab is not having the sufficient number of probes for conducting the practicals in the lab, and you are not able to provide them those probes, how he or she is going to help students doing practicals in the labs? And being head of the department, you are not able to provide them the probes. You are waiting for the amount to be sanctioned by the principal, and till then the week will go away, and next time you are again stuck with the same problem. So if you spend money out of your pocket and you just take the sanction thereafter from the principal, nobody is going to deny. If you are doing in the favor of students, yes, people will help you out. So if they don't help, even if they don't sanction the amount you have spent, say for example 500 to 100,000 rupees, it's not going to make your pocket empty. You can spend that much of money, but it is going to help you achieving the excellence. If it will help approaching the excellence, people will say, yes, this is the fellow, this is the teacher, this is the head of the department who is helping us out when we are in trouble. So excellence is not a particular quantity that can be borrowed from the market. It is the inheritance or inherited property of a particular person. So I think I have spoken so much about leadership and so much about excellence, and it is a very vast subject. We can speak for more than 6 hours or 8 hours, but time constraints are there. So I must stop here. Thank you very much for patient hearing. Thank you very much, organizers. Thank you very much, principals.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for such a informative session, sir. It is really helpful, and it's very informative. We are able to know more about effective leadership and all. And thank you so much, sir, for accepting our request on such a short notice.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
So I request Meeta ma'am to please prepare a Google form and get the feedback out of this program and share it with me, so that I can learn what shortcomings are there in my delivery and what whether I was able to make people understand or not. So feedback is also necessary. So I request you to please have a Google form and collect the feedback and share it with me.
Technically it will be shared on Atal portal itself. But if
Okay.
you want me, yes, sir. They'll be sharing their feedback on Atal portal, directly on the Atal portal. There will be no separate Google form for feedback and all.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'll
But
share that feedback with you, sir.
you just give me feedback thereafter whenever I require, because it will be necessary, because I am not in practice of visiting these portals and all these. But anyway, I
Yes, sir.
will need some username, ID, password, everything. So it will be better if you could give me the general feedback from the audience you have with you. So that will help me.
They are sharing their feedbacks in the comment box, sir. Many of them have shared. Kalpana ma'am has shared, sir, just right now. Wonderful presentation, sir. And Lokesh Gupta, it was really wonderful, sir. Roj ma'am, very informative and motivating session. And otherwise, I'll share it with you, sir. I'll share the final feedback on the Atal portal with you.
Because the person from humanities are also there. Dr. Saroj Gupta is there because she is also the member of UHV team at Northeastern region. And I'm afraid if she is motivating me by writing very informative and motivating session, then it's good for me. But I need some critical feedback also. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Vyas sir.
Shyam Sundarji, okay, thank you. So I am leaving this meeting now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.